Hello, hello. Welcome to the 5TalentsPodcast. I'm your host, Abel Pacheco. I interview the top commercial real estate investors and industry experts so you can learn from their experiences. So if you're an investor, a high W-2 earner, or real estate or tech sales professional that wants to invest in real estate without having to manage properties or leave your day job, then this podcast is for you. Or if you're already investing in real estate, but you're doing it part-time and you want to become a full-time multifamily or full-time commercial real estate investor, this podcast is for you too. You're going to learn a ton. You will learn from real-life multifamily investors and other professionals in the industry. They're going to share their blueprints for success, and I'm super excited that you're here. So I hope you enjoy the show. Hello, hello. This is Abel Pacheco, your host for the 5 Talents Podcast. We are yet again super excited because we have another amazing guest, Mr. Nate Ohlrich. Nate, thanks for joining the show, brother. How's it going?
It's going great, Abel. I appreciate you having me on. This will be a fun time.
Man, I'm excited. We had, whenever we have a new guest on the show, we get to have some chit chat, some pre-interview discussion, and you've got an amazing story. I'm super excited to highlight it, and I'm appreciative that you would join our show, brother. So thank you very much.
Yeah, awesome. I'm excited to get going.
Yeah, for those that don't know Nate, he's a real estate investor and broker from Omaha, Nebraska. So he's got an amazing entrepreneurial background. He started with owning retail nutrition stores. He did that for about 10 years, and he's transitioned now from brokerage to invest in real estate. And, really from him, the 7 years that he's invested in commercial buildings, single family homes, 600 doors of multifamily properties. You want to know how someone invests in 600 plus doors and $40 million worth of real estate, active and passively? Man, this is going to be a great show. So I'm super excited. He's had a tremendous background and he's just getting started. That's the cool part about it. So Nate, thank you very much for joining. Let me turn it over to you, man. Tell us in your own words, give us your introduction, who you are, what you do, and we'll just start a great conversation from here.
Okay. Yeah, sounds good, Abel. So you're correct. Yeah, I used to own a handful of nutrition stores in the Midwest. I had a business partner for that, did that for about 9 years. And I think that's where I really got interested in real estate and just understanding how when you have tenants in place, they're paying the landlord and paying down the mortgage and the amount of money that you're able to make and not really have to, put out too much work in order to get that money. And so owning those stores was a great learning experience. I got out of those in 2018, so about 3 years ago. But I guess while I had those stores, did my first investment in 2013. It was a retail building. And that was great. We still have it today. But then I was just curious on, how can I grow this or, learn more. And retail at that time, I thought that was kind of my path to financial freedom or, the way to do things. That it was probably just because it's what I knew the most about. But going from that, I thought, well, single family homes and, that's kind of a lot of other people's story of how they start in single family homes and, flip or hold and scale from there. So I ended up getting one single family home, still have that as well, and then tried to add on to that and scale those up. But I guess for whatever particular reason, there was a time where I was contacting executors of probate estates, and I would meet with them, walk through the properties. I made a few offers, didn't buy anything, but that, I guess kind of on a slight tangent, it was awkward, because they had just lost someone, and it was a learning experience. So I just kind of moved on from there, but then just started listening to podcasts and reading a lot of books, and heard a local investor talk about his experiences and that of investing in single family homes, but then probably more importantly, multifamily. And just the fact that, people are always going to need somewhere to live. And I guess the uncertainty too that's come to light here with the pandemic of retail, that's shifted my focus and my confidence on, what I would want to put my money behind right now. So there are specific retail properties, especially if they're well located, I think will always have value and utility. But multifamily, just right now, and with the low interest rates, it's just something that I'm super excited about, and I've seen a lot of success with it. And so
Mhm.
I am, I'm just here to tell everybody, and hopefully if somebody would kind of replicate my story, where if they hear me and they can, kind of uh, vibe off of that and get interested and be able to get some passive income coming in, that'd be great, because
Yeah.
it's such a wonderful thing.
I love it, man. I love it. I'm smiling ear to ear. I think that's exactly where you want to be, is recognize a few things, your hard work, your effort. I heard, the retail owner, the trying to go do single family probate. I heard this active work, and then you realize, well, man, I want to be invested in something that actually gives me and my family a good return with
Mhm.
the market, just fluctuating the economy, and you're not quite sure. We're all trying to pick the right vehicle, the best place to put as many, of our dollars as we can. And we want to find a good place for it to earn. And we want to find a good place for it to, to be preserved. Wealth preservation, number one. And then how can I make it earn as much as possible? So that's amazing that you found multifamily. What a great vehicle, as I know you now know
Yeah.
as well.
Yep.
So before we go into the real estate side of it,
Mhm.
tell us about the retail side. So how many stores did you own, and how did you even get into that? And talk a little bit about it if you can. Like, what was the money like? Did you have to save? Is it like a house? I have to save up a bunch of money. Do they give you a big bank loan? Is it a mixture of both? I have no idea what it takes to run a nutrition retail store.
Yeah. So in college, I'd worked at a nutrition store, and this franchise owner ended up opening up his own line, his own franchise concept of stores. And well, going to college, I ended up getting 2 degrees. I'm not using either of them, but
Yeah, but
so
we got them. It's
yeah, I got them.
important.
So, and they're not even hanging on my wall or anything.
I
So,
love it.
why'd I do that? But I guess it was a good learning experience and all that sort of stuff. But I was working a job, actually doing graphic design for an organic coffee company, sitting at a desk. There was no windows in my office, and I was still keeping in touch with some of my friends that had worked at the nutrition store, and they said, "Well, they're going to be franchising this new concept. Why don't you, check it out? It's a great way. You could be your own boss." And at that time, ecom really hadn't come into full swing, and our business model for the first, I'd say, half of my ownership period with those stores, it was working great. It changed about halfway through, but we kind of had it figured out there for a little bit. So I came from a middle class upbringing, not really, you know knowing a whole lot about real estate. And I know, coming from my mom and dad, it was always just kind of, you need to save some of your money and put it in a index fund or mutual fund, and that's kind of the way you'll end up doing retirement. But um, going back to the nutrition stores, I convinced my roommate at the time that we need to do one of these franchise stores. We weren't able to do it in our home state, so we had to travel around. Actually, I think we maybe went to 7 or 8 different cities around Omaha,
Wow.
and yeah, it was fun. Just kind of analyzing each market, seeing what the competitors were there and what the available space was. Well, we ended up going up to Madison, Wisconsin, and the owner of this franchise concept, we had I guess a really good relationship, enough for him to spot us some money, really, to get an SBA loan to get that started. So without that, that was I was just thinking about that the other day, like
Yeah.
without him being generous and kind of rolling the dice on us. He really wanted to grow his concept, but without that happening, I just would have changed the trajectory of where I'm at. So
Yeah.
for that first store, he had loaned us some money, and then we got him paid back. And then it just, I would say, I think within 12 months, then we had opened up our second store and started hiring employees and learning that whole thing. At our peak, when we had the 8 stores, we had about, I think it was about 40 employees. So it was fun. It was good. Learned a lot.
Very active. And that,
Yeah,
like the exact opposite of passive investing, but I'm
yeah,
sure a ton of experience,
yep,
ton of
yep.
experience. So how many
So
stores did you get to total?
8. We had 8 of them.
Son of a gun. In
Yeah.
8 different cities?
Yes. Yep. We were
Wow.
in Wisconsin, North Dakota, and Minnesota.
Okay. And
Yeah.
during that process, I'm sure today you could probably reflect on, even though it wasn't commercial real estate, it wasn't, even passive investing. There, I'm sure, a lesson or two that you still use today. Can you give us any pearls of wisdom here? Something that you've learned that anybody can apply, passive, active investing. Just something
Yeah.
that we can learn from that experience.
I would say ultimately, and maybe with other entrepreneurs out there, like this is just a given, but I had also read Jocko's book of Extreme Ownership,
Yeah.
where, you can't be waiting on somebody to give you an answer or hand you a solution. Like, you need to just take that responsibility and figure it out, because at the end of the day, you're probably going to have a better solution, maybe speak with others to get some ideas, but you just have to take that responsibility and charge forward and, figure it out and have that hunger. If you don't have that hunger, then, taking the risk of doing something entrepreneurial, maybe that's not for you, which is fine. There's, everybody has their own personality and risk tolerance, but I
Yeah.
guess ultimately just knowing and understanding that it starts and ends with you. Like, you need to take that responsibility and figure it out.
Yeah, 100%. That's absolutely applicable, regardless of what you're doing, who you are, where you're at, whether it's your investing, your career, your professional, career, or your investments. Take responsibility, accountability. You got to go do it. No one's going to do it for you, right?
Right.
And I found the more that we take accountability and responsibility for something, whether it's our actions, our mindset, our investing strategies, man, the more we're in control to go learn. And then, we kind of go down one path and maybe a rabbit hole. It may be the right or wrong one, but we've learned. And
Yeah.
now we can see, oh, this feels like the right one. This is absolutely the right one. And now you can, take action on what you need to do. And, no one's going to help you. It's got to be you yourself. I love that, Nate. So
Yeah.
that's great. Thank you for
Yeah.
that insight. And thanks for letting me pry into the background a little bit.
Oh yeah.
So, okay, so you mentioned a couple things.
Mhm.
You learned from some books and some podcasts, and you
Yeah.
kind of felt like this was the right path. What were those books and what were those podcasts, and what did you learn about commercial real estate and multifamily and passive investing? We'd love to hear that.
Okay, sure. And I think there's 5 main steps or sort of stages that I went through that I feel like really, contributed the most to get me where I am today. The first 2 is figuring out your goals and your why. So I think if you're just getting into investing in real estate in any form, either your goals are going to be, well, you want to have a door count or uh, a dollar amount of building or a number, quantity of buildings. But if you're just starting out, you really have to get that base level of knowledge. And like you had mentioned, I got that through reading books, listening to podcasts. I've went to a few different conferences, just did a virtual one here a couple weeks ago, been to some in person, and then some different coaching programs. There's just so much information out there, and it's a blessing and a curse, because also with podcasts, like, who do you listen to and who do you trust? It's hard to know. Do you go with the top rated one just because maybe they have the most charisma or something, or are they actually giving you value and knowledge? And so that's probably a little bit, different for each person and their personality. But at the time, the podcast, Bigger Pockets was the one I was listening to. That really opened me up after, hearing people be guests on the show and then kind of investigating them and seeing what they're doing. And then, oh, they've been on these other shows, so maybe let's give those a listen. Um, Doing that really just kind of broadened my knowledge and led me to a place where there's only so much, I would say, knowledge and value you can get from the books and podcasts. You need to start talking to people that are doing what you want to be doing,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
like attending those meetups. So I had ended up contacting a guest on the Bigger Pockets podcast who was in my town, and called him up and talked to him. And I can imagine he was getting swamped with calls, as a lot of those guests do. And, they don't know who you are. And, you're kind of like, hey, I want to pick your brain. Let's go grab a cup of coffee. And like, no, like that.
Probably one of the worst things to tell me right now too. Hey, I'd like to pick your brain and grab some cup of coffee. I'm like, man, what's the goal? What's your goal? But anyways,
Yeah.
The fact that you did it though, anyways, and that's great.
And so, yeah, I was trying to figure out, well, what value can I bring? Like, I do know I want to invest. And he was super cool about it. And he's like, well, just go to the meetup. There's a meetup in town here, and you'll meet a lot of other people. And anyway, what's that?
No. I'm laughing because I'm thinking about the number of people that ping me because of our podcast or one way or the other, and they're like, "Hey, can you just give me some time?" We have a weekly meetup that we host on Wednesdays at 12 p.m. And I end up saying, just come to our meetup, man. Come or lady, whoever I'm talking with. But anyways, go ahead.
Yeah. And it's probably, I think at that stage you're excited and you want to know more, and maybe you haven't thought it through. But anyway, so I went to the meetup, met a lot of great people, ended up partnering with some of these people that I'd met on some properties. And then I've been in some syndication since. But I guess going back to kind of step number 2 also would be figuring out your why. So for my why, I'm married, have 3 kids, 2 boys that are 9 and 7, and then my daughter, who's 4, she has special needs. And what that means for me is she's had a couple of brain surgeries down at Children's in Houston.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So it's been, a different road than I was planning on, but that has really put me in the position of taking the responsibility of being the breadwinner for my family, because my wife, bless her heart, she takes care of her, for most of the day. And she's on the phone talking to doctors about like medication changes, and there's different therapies that she has to go to. So, for me in my situation, that's the way it is right now. And so I guess it really narrowed my focus on what I need to spend my time on and how much time I can spend, because I'm the sole breadwinner of my family.
Yeah, well, God bless you and your family, and pray for your family and for healing and to have the best possible outcome.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, she, her life will be different. She'll need assistance her whole life, but she can walk around and chat. She doesn't have a whole lot of words in her vocabulary, but that's who she is, and that's the way we love her. So,
amen.
Yeah.
Amen.
So just to kind of recap those stages I went through, figuring out your goals, and if you're just starting, it's really educating yourself, and then kind of establishing your why. Probably you should put it on paper, put it on the screensaver on your phone, put it on your mirror in your bathroom, just so, if you're serious about it, it needs to be around where you are so you don't forget it, and your mind is always, thinking about things. And I think subconsciously too, if you're, you might be developing solutions to whatever problems you might have, just if it's, kind of the goals are near you or around you. And then educating yourself, and then networking, talking with other investors or brokers and learning from their experience, because like I said before, there's only I feel like there's kind of a cap on how much you can get from the books and podcasts. You kind of have to have conversations and let your mind kind of see how things work in the real world.
Mhm.
And then after you've done that, I mean, it's easy, just take action.
Yeah. Yeah.
um, but without taking those steps for me, and as an investor in syndications, if you're handing over 50 grand or whatever it may be, you really have to understand the deal. You have to know how to underwrite to some extent, and then you have to be able to trust the sponsorship team. And so, meeting with them face to face and really looking at their track record is important to know that your hard-earned money is going to be preserved and grow, and hopefully you can just snowball the whole thing and keep things rolling. And that's kind of really where I've evolved to now. Is I've seen a lot of success with my investments, and I've talking to family and friends, and people are interested and they want to participate too. And so that's really led me to I wrote a book. You can download it on my website. My website is natecre.com. The name of the book is Fearless Investing. And it's just a little bit more background on me and the things that I've learned of what to look for and what to look out for, so you can invest fearlessly.
All
Um,
right.
so yeah, I guess that's kind of where I'm at now, and I'm just shouting from the mountaintops. If you're interested in real estate, I would be more than happy to talk to you. And if it's to own something outright, which is where I kind of saw myself at the beginning of my real estate investing phase. But then you really learn that it's a team sport, and you have to, work with other people, trust with other people, and work with them, to scale. Because if you're going to do it all by yourself, I mean, you can't be an expert at everything. Or if you could, it's just going to take so much time. And then, you have to factor in that time of
Yep.
what's your time worth.
Where do you invest in, Nate?
Mainly in the Midwest. So the syndications and active deals that I've done are in Omaha, Kansas City, and then we're also looking heavily Des Moines, Sioux Falls, Sioux City,
Got it.
and then also going a little south too.
All right. Well, good luck in that area. Good luck in that area. I've heard good things about Kansas City, and I don't know much about Des Moines or Iowa or Sioux Falls and that kind of thing. But I'm sure you're looking at the market mechanics, and which are all good. But let me go back real quick, because I heard step one, which is the goals. Step two was the why. Was step three education? What did I miss? 4 and 5?
Yes, education and networking, I would say, would be number 4.
You mentioned networking. Yep.
And then taking action is the 5th one.
Okay, good deal. So this is awesome. So let me kind of go back, right? For the passive investors, you to even get invested passively, to put your money, I think I heard 50 grand, which is a normal kind of amount for a lot of, passive investments. It's kind of that minimum. If you're doing a 5, 10, 15, $20 million deal, the bank provides about, anywhere from 70, 75, maybe 80% of the loan. So let's use a round number. It's $10 million deal. If it's 10 million and we get 80% LTV, which is pretty stout, the bank would give 8 million, and we need to raise $2 million. So for those passive investors, that's exactly where Nate comes in with the 50K. He comes in as an equity owner, as a limited partner, passive investor, which means you're an owner of the company, you're an owner of the real estate, you're an owner of a K1, you're official partner. We are all signing on a document. We're all signing on an agreement. We're LLC, partners, right? So that is the amazing part of being a passive investor, is that you can get in a large multifamily apartment complex and have limited risk to the 50, even though the deal is 10, and even though the loan may be 8. We're doing these through syndications, SEC regulated deals, which are usually, for the most part, Regulation D, 506B or 506C. There's a new Reg A kind of thing, but for the most part, it's B's and C's. And the SEC gives us an exemption, as opposed to having to register with the SEC to go public, which is hundreds and thousands of dollars, and months and months of time. We essentially register, they give us an exemption, and we go private instead of public. And so out comes a private placement memorandum, and we're all, we know the terms and we're diving in. But to put the $50,000 into a deal, Nate just described an amazing process, which are set your own goals first, know your why. His was his family, and helping his family situation, and especially his daughter with needs there. The education part of it, to even know, is this 50K gonna make, is it gonna turn into 100, and how much I need to make sure I don't lose it. So that's great. And networking, had you not networked, you wouldn't have ever had even an opportunity to see one of these types of deals until you get around other people that are doing it. And that's usually, for the most part, the truth, because you just don't see these deals advertised very much. Even if you do, if you're not connected to somebody on social, you probably don't see them very much unless they're with large institutions. And if they are, they're usually, the returns are pretty low.
A little watered down.
Yeah, they're watered down. That's a great word for it, Nate. Or it's a REIT, a real estate investment trust, which is not ownership of real estate. It's ownership in stock that owns real estate. So, and the last one, take action. Hello. You're listening to the 5 Talents Podcast. I'm your host, Abel Pacheco. If you're enjoying this podcast, then I know you're serious about achieving financial freedom. Are you ready to create your own path through multifamily investing for yourself and your family? Then I know you're going to appreciate our Investor's Guide to Multifamily Investing. It's titled Tackling Commercial Real Estate the Easy Way. We use this guide to invest ourselves in $93 million worth of real estate. So we're going to show you the basic mechanics of multifamily syndications and how to evaluate your next passive investment opportunity. So the best part, if you subscribe to our podcast now, leave us a review and a rating. I'm going to give you a free copy of our ebook. So please take a moment to do that now. Once you've done that, go to 5tcre.com/ebook, 5tcre.com/ebook. Make sure to let us know you left a review, and we're going to send you a free copy. So thank you so much for subscribing to the 5 Talents Podcast. We really appreciate it. So out of all these steps, which do you think is the most important? If you had to say it was only one, which one do you think would be the most important?
I would say, for me personally, I'll give you the top one, and then the number two. I love it.
I love it.
Yeah. I would say the networking one, because that one really brings together, like, once you have the knowledge and you start to know how things work, when you're talking with someone and having these conversations, and hearing, their experience, it really just kind of crystallizes the things that you need to know in order to move forward to the next step, or like what exactly you want to invest in. Mm-hmm. And there's things that you can learn from other people's experiences that, you might have to read 10 books, but if you just like had a 5-minute conversation of somebody's success or failure, that might, you could spend 10 hours or 5 minutes. Like, I just feel like it's a shortcut of, getting those personal stories and talking with people. But then in order to have those conversations, you kind of have to know what you're talking about anyway. And then go ahead.
No, sorry, go ahead.
Okay. Then close number two, I think your why, because, it's not easy. There's a lot of information out there. Life happens, there's going to be distractions. But if you don't have that driving force of, why am I actually doing this? You'll probably just revert to old habits. And if it's working a W-2 job, or, whatever your situation is, and that's totally fine. You have to stay motivated. And I guess, I also listen to every once in a while, like on YouTube, to motivational speakers or graduation speeches. Like, those kind of get me pumped up sometimes. And then just
Denzel has some pretty good ones.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's got some good graduation speeches. But anyway, go ahead.
Yeah. And then listening to podcasts like yours, Abel, of just, knowing the terminology and hearing how people talk about, different metrics and returns and what they look for. But then ultimately just knowing, each person has their own why. And for me, just knowing that and having that kind of,
Yep.
burned in my consciousness it just keeps me moving forward.
All right. And what was the biggest obstacle you had to overcome when you're making your first, passive investment?
I think really trusting the general partners or the sponsorship team.
Mm-hmm.
And I was able to meet with them in person, had lunch with them and then talk about their past experience. And, you know, if it's the first time you've ever done it, like you're going to have all these crazy ideas of, they can take my money and run off to a foreign country and will I ever see them again? And, you know, and then I also talked to people that are friends of theirs just to get some sort of reference or some framework of doing that sort of thing. And then a background check isn't a bad thing either, just and then even bringing that topic up to them in conversation is going to let them know that like I respect my hard-earned money here and I'm entrusting it to you. And so if there's anything I need to be worried about, let's talk about it. But really understanding who the sponsors are that are running the project and can they do the business plan that they've laid out and having confidence in that. Because yeah, like I was of the mindset where I wanted to do everything myself, own properties 100%, but then totally flip from that. And I knew in order to scale and go faster, you have to work with other people and as a team.
Yeah. Okay. That's great. That is, it's very honest, sincere, realistic, the mindset that you had. Those are all of the things that are going through anyone's head, I think, when you're trying to invest a good chunk of change. It's not 5 grand. It ain't 10, it's 40, 50 grand is a serious number. And it's taken probably for most people that I know anyways, it took me a long time to get up 50K. And so I have to overcome that. And what I tell passive investors today is to spend as much time doing what Nate talked about, getting to know them, track record, experience, making sure that goals, vision, mission aligns, their ability to, do the business plan that they've laid out, is to spend that time networking. I think Nate hit it. You have to network with people and you have to do that today. I would implore you, if you're trying to invest 50, 100 grand or more this year into, passively investing into someone else's deals, don't start doing that when you have 50K and you're ready to deploy it. Do it now
Mhm.
while you're not under the time pressure of the end of the year, not under the time pressure of there's a current deal and you have to make a decision today. Start networking with people today, get in their world, set up a time, have the conversation, because in my opinion, the goal is to have as many of these connections as possible. So you have as many options as possible. So when the time comes, it's a lot about timing. I may have a team that I love and I want to go invest with,
Mhm.
but I don't have 50K C capital when they launched a deal. And at the end of the year, when I did and I need to, they don't have a deal either. So unless I had a connection in advance
Mhm.
laid out with multiple teams, people that I trust, knew, liked, and trust, and different markets that I like, it's just no way you're going to be able to do that. So that's why I always kind of tell people, do that now. And tell us about your first experience. Did it go quickly? Was it a fast raise? When did you hear about the deal? Did you wire? It was a cash, or did you move self-directed IRA money, or and then was their deal full really quick? Or tell us about those things as a passive investor.
Yeah, so the first really multifamily deal, and I did it as more of kind of a traditional partnership. Um, that was through the connections that I got from the podcast and then meeting these people at the meetup. Um, and the business plan with that, we haven't really started doing distributions yet because we're going to refi here, I would say, in the summer or fall. And we are projecting to get probably 80 to 100% of our capital back, and then we'll start taking distributions from it. So it's more of a, a longer play. And so that is going good. Super, super happy with it. And actually the partners on that project, I invested with them in a syndicated deal, and they were the GP, I was the LP. It went great. We funded it. It was right when Corona was getting kicked off last March. And
fun time to make a decision on these type of deals.
Yeah. So that happened, and then they started doing distributions in October. And so then to date, we've gotten 2 distributions. Things are going great.
Yeah.
They're rehabbing and raising rents, and
yeah.
What
was it thank you very much for that. That's great insight. When you invested though, was it like you had to make a decision in 2 weeks, or was it a email that went out, then a webinar? What was that process like, if you can remember?
Yeah. So since I was invested with these guys on this prior deal, I was talking to them, on a fairly consistent basis. And I guess I kind of felt like I had a heads up. They have their investor list of, who they're presenting opportunities to. But I kind of, I can't remember how long I really thought about it, but maybe it was 30 or 60 days before I had to fund it. So I guess the confidence or the progress that I saw that was being made on this first project, and, these guys are my friends now, that I'm working with. And so that, really, really made the decision pretty easy to pull the trigger, because of the experience that I had with them.
Right on. Well, this has been an awesome conversation, Nate. I really appreciate your time, and I could keep going. I think I got a little off track a little earlier on your retail store background, because it was super interesting. But I know how much time, effort, and energy that sounded like you put into it, and I'm grateful for the nugget of taking accountability and responsibility, and then summarizing the 4 steps, as Nate said. Set your goals, choose your why. Make sure you know your why, education, network, and then take action. I love it. And Nate's start into multifamily investing is similar to many others. Books and podcasts, education, go to a meetup, go to conferences, get some coaching, and then take some freaking action. I love it. So thank you very much for this. This has been a great show. If somebody wants to get in your world, Nate, and learn more about you, or potentially invest in any one of the markets that you're in, where should we go? Where do we reach out? How do we get into your world?
Yes, my website is natecre.com. So that's spelled NATECRE.com. When you're there, you can download my book. Like I had mentioned before, it's called Fearless Investing. It's free. You just have to pop in your email address. I'm on Instagram and LinkedIn. If you search me up on LinkedIn, I do put out some content on there as well. That's probably the easiest way. Or if you want to email me, it's natecre@natecre.com.
All right. Thank you very much. And is there anything else we didn't touch on, or you're hoping I asked it today, or, anything in general that you wanted to highlight? We just didn't bring up.
I think just always being open to change. And before the show started, I had mentioned that I was with a brokerage company, and now I'm doing a different path, and just actually the things of getting this interview ready for today is just, kind of truth in that concept of, there's always going to be things going on in your life, and things that are going to try to pull you off the path. But going back to your goals and your why, like if you really want something, you'll figure out a way, but you got to plan for it, and kind of prepare yourself so you can take action.
All right. I love it. Thank you so much. And I really appreciate your time, Nate. You're the man. And
you're the man, Abel.
Again, my name is Abel Pacheco. I'm your host for the 5 Talents Podcast. If you heard something you appreciated today, go leave us a review and a rating on our podcast. Subscribe. The more of those that we get, the easier it is for us to get amazing guests like Mr. Nate. So thank you very much, Mr. Ohlrich. I appreciate your time. And for all the listeners or viewers on Facebook, we'll see you soon. We'll see you on our next show.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
Abel. Yep.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the 5 Talents Podcast with your host, myself, Abel Pacheco. Each week, we're going to bring you interviews from industry experts and commercial real estate investors who followed their dreams and achieved massive success. Before you leave, let me ask you a few questions. Did you enjoy this episode? Did you learn something valuable? Was your mind stretched to what's possible and what you can achieve? Do you want other experts just like the one you heard today? If you answered yes to any or all of those questions, then please take a moment to subscribe to the 5 Talents Podcast, give us a 5-star rating, and most importantly, leave us a written review. Tell us what you liked, tell us your favorite guest, give us any feedback. I'm excited to learn and improve so you can get a more valuable show. So thank you again for subscribing to the 5 Talents Podcast.